Welcome back to Analyzing Celebrity Faces, Episode 2. For those of you waiting for the Instagram versus reality episodes, I'm taking a break this week because we just finished the 10th episode and I think it's best to try different content to avoid burning out. I'm just tired of looking at bad liquify edits, to be honest. As per the top comments in Episode 1, we're breaking down what facial features make Audrey Hepburn, O Prai, and Aishwarya Rai conventionally attractive. Audrey Hepburn, born Audrey Ruston, was a prominent English actress and fashion icon during the 20th century. During a period of time where femininity was pursued and encouraged, Hepburn stood out for her unique, carefree style that arose as part of a post-war counterculture, broadening the definition of what it means to be feminine, beautiful, and fashionable. In particular, she rocked a short-haired pixie cut which accentuated her gamin, playful archetype on screen. In other words, she dressed how she wanted to in a time where that wasn't the norm. To me, what stands out the most is just that point. Her style, face, and hair so perfectly complements her on and off-screen personality. This homogeneity between the inside and outside that's so true to her features is still uncommon even to this day. Here's what I mean by that. When your personality is incongruent with the way you dress and, to a lesser degree, your face shape, people will call you out for it. Case in point, this guy on TikTok was making a valid point about bathroom hygiene, but all, and I mean all of the comments were picking on his looks. It's not even gatekeeping at this point, it just doesn't suit his face. And while you're free to dress however you like, there are certain things that harmonize well with your face and there are certain things that don't. There are certain things that make you more attractive and there are certain things that don't. Anyway, going back to Hepburn, the short hair works really well on her because she has almost perfect bone structure and craniofacial development. In fact, she could wear any haircut and pull it off because the face makes the hair and not the other way around. Facial aesthetic wise, Hepburn has a heart-shaped face, much like the top models in the cutesy category like Miranda Kerr. Cutesy isn't really a word, so in David Kibb's book Metamorphosis, he describes this archetypal look as gamin. On Wikipedia it says large eyes, moderate to thin lips, and taut cheeks and flesh, which is exactly what she has. What I'm trying to say is that she's not intimidating looking like Bella Hadid. One reason for that is that she has large rounded eyes, which are seen as more feminine. I mean, no one's going to be intimidated by Bambi. What a throwback. Her jaw is on the larger and more defined side in terms of bigonial width and mandible length. This makes her quite androgynous, having a healthy mix between feminine mid-face features and a masculine lower third. Unlike other models with a masculine jaw, she has more androgynous features because her face is quite svelte and slender. Hepburn's facial width to height ratio is lower than someone like Miranda Kerr's. It's wide but not too much, a huge simplification, but research shows that the wider someone's face is, the more trustworthy we perceive them to be. Which is why Audrey's wide but not too wide face makes her seem like the perfect trickster stereotype in the movies. Harmless but mischievous. Zendaya's face is actually quite similar to hers, and it might help explain why she was cast as Rue in Euphoria. When casting directors say you don't have the right look, they're indirectly assessing your personality through the medium of your face. Some say that physiognomy, the science of assigning personality through facial features, is pseudoscience. But to me, empirically, it's the most human trait we have. It's how we assess friend or foe when meeting someone for the first time. In a world before Photoshop and live CGI, to me, Audrey Hepburn was the pinnacle of beauty for the era. Look at how well she had aged. Even with the wrinkles and deep nasolabial folds, her impeccable bone structure still holds the skin taut. No jowls? Is it jowls? No jowls or hollow cheeks, and a perfect hairline. I generally don't think there's anyone in the industry today that can compare. Moving on, we have O Prai. Sean is, to date, one of the highest, if not the highest paid male model in the industry, which to me is a bit strange. Normally we would think that the highest paid model would be objectively the best looking one, but I disagree there. Sean to me has a very polarizing and memorable face, which is why I think he's the highest paid. Models like Lucky Blue Smith have far better facial harmony, but no feature quite stands out to make you think twice other than, oh, that one good looking boy I saw the other day. With O Prai, his iconic eye region is his bread and butter for staying relevant in the industry long after everyone else has died out. In fact, a better way to differentiate facial beauty from modeling standards would be to see who has stayed relevant the longest, and that would be none other than David Gandy. In his prime, he was probably at the top for conventional masculinity through his features, but even now at 40, a time where most men are fighting male pattern baldness and beer bellies, he's still booking jobs. Tangent aside, back to O Prai. Personally, I think his eye area is a bit excessive and detracts from his face. But again, that's what modeling wants, memorable faces. Obviously, he has a very prominent brow ridge and incredibly hooded eyes, with a neutral canthal tilt and very slight scleral show. His lower eyelid does droop a little in every shot I've seen of him. His jaw is again incredibly well formed and slightly lower on the ideal bigonial width, but defined and wide at the chin and mental region, making it masculine nonetheless. Since his midface is so small, his jaw and subsequently lower third takes up more than, well, a third of the face. It gives the appearance of his face being long and narrow, which is somewhat unideal. Compare that to Jordan Barrett, who has an incredibly wide, short face that suits his similarly wide, narrow eye area. Personally, I'm not a big fan of Sean O Prai. I just keep seeing Cyclops from the X-Men cartoons. Last but not least, Aishwarya Rai. Aishwarya is a prominent Bollywood actress and model, having won Miss India and Miss World among countless other titles. The most noticeable thing about her are her coloured eyes. Dark features with coloured eyes is the same reason David Gandy has a job. It's unique and so it stands out and meets modelling criteria. Here's another example with former Maldivian model Rodha Atif, who died in 2017. Anthropometrically, there are a few differences with Aishwarya. Her eye shape is both larger and wider than typically seen on Caucasian models. It has slight scleral show with a neutral canthal tilt, and she has high cheekbones, all pretty standard stuff. What's different is that her face is less defined and has softer features. There's just less angularity all around, from the cheekbones, which are high but not as prominent, to her jaw mandible, which is shorter in length because of her lower gonial angle. This is a common anthropometric feature seen throughout the Indian subcontinent, but generally the jaw mandibles are shorter to compensate for a lower ramus and shallower angle. Otherwise, she would develop an underbite as her jaw juts out too far forward. Compare her jaw to Audrey Hepburn's, which is longer because it's angled downwards and still meets up at the nasion for ideal craniofacial development. All of these features makes her jaw characteristically more masculine as it adds to her already squarish face shape. A better example is Kareena Kapoor, who has an over-exaggerated jaw, basically the same jaw as Aishwarya but wider with a lower gonial angle, making it seem flatter. It's really hard to say much about Aishwarya because her features seem to change in every photo, and I'm gonna get angry comments from fans saying that I'm wrong because I looked at one picture while they're looking at another. In this photo, her jaw is angled downwards and here it's an almost 90-degree angle. I personally really like this screen grab from a YouTube video. It's a bit blurry, but it shows how well her features harmonize with her eyes, both in terms of color with her skin tone and in terms of shape with the facial third proportion. Alright, that brings us to a close. If you enjoy the content, show your support by liking the video and subscribe for the next episode in the series.